Here we go. Let's move on. Why did the project manager cross the road? Well, to get to the critical path, of course. Oh, groan, terrible. It's awful, isn't it? I am the lazy project manager. That's what I'm most famous for. But today I'm going to try and be the lazy and slightly funny project manager as well. And I think it's important that right now you the kind of put together this kind of idea of bringing a smile to people's faces. It's the way you wait for the bring about the power of something that's kind of internal to us, if that's what I mean. Though this is one slide that I use a lot when I'm out doing presentations, etc. And it brings a smile to people's faces, this one, because it is a great quote. Actually, it's a real quote that someone gave me in Australia. I've no idea who. It was a quote that came through on one of those kind of blind surveys at the end of a conference. So thank you to that person in Australia. I hope you still like me. I put it together. I was teased about it to start with because it's like, is that something your mother would say? And then I came up and I started using a picture of my own mother, and then I got told off by my mother, and then I used somebody else. I've stolen this mother from the internet, so just go with it. It's quite a powerful image that's used quite a lot in the stuff I do. But here's the heart of it. When I came up with the idea for the project manager who smiled, and I'll talk about why I came up with the book originally. I was doing some work with Andrew Fialev and Wrike. Now, Wrike, I mean, I'm not promoting any technology during this presentation, but at the time I happened to be doing some work with Andrew Fialev, the founder of Wrike. And Andrew kindly sponsored the book, so he kind of allowed it to come into creation, and I was appreciative of that. And of course, as part of the that kind of agreement, I obviously asked him to write the foreword to the book, or one of the forewords. There's two forewords to the book, and one of his quotes is this one: "At work, a good laugh not only reduces tension and relieves stress, but also helps to increase team bonding and boost morale." And I agree. I totally agree. I think that is exactly what it does. It really brings about this kind of capability of sourcing. I don't know. It's something strange that you see in people in teams is when they are working in this way, because what happens is there's just a power. There is just a strength in people working together when they have this constant connection of a good spirit, if you like. It doesn't mean they're laughing all the time. I mean, again, we're not talking about people crazily walking around in clown costumes, hilariously forward about laughing, slapstick, or any of that. No, what we're talking about is that you have the ability to have a good laugh occasionally, at the right time. You have the power to be able to do that. And by doing that, as it says, it not only reduces tension and relieves stress, but it also helps to increase the bonding and it boosts morale. And that's something I strongly believe in. And this is the second guy. This is Alexander Karov, who he runs a company called Woohoo Inc., which I think is one of the best names I've ever come across as far as companies are concerned. But Alexander, he talks about happiness. That's his thing. And he was the other guy who wrote the other foreword to the book. And I was very appreciative because I'd just seen Alexander present. I think we were in Copenhagen at that time. I found his presentation fascinating, insightful around the power of happiness and what drives happiness and what happiness can bring about. And I asked him to write the other foreword, and this is a quote from his section. He said, "This is not soft and idealistic, naive hippie thinking." It's not. It's real. It's solid. It's not something fluffy and extra and pleasant and add-on or it's not that. It is at the very heart of great team performance, and it's as you said, it's not idealistic, it's not naive, it's not hippie thinking. It is solid fact, proven fact that people who have this kind of connection, this community, this engagement, this team spirit, deliver significantly better than those that don't. An example of this is this one. This is Dr. Seuss, but he's good because Seuss is a fascinating character. I mean, he's if you ever look up Dr. Seuss, I mean, he was he was rejected, I think, something like 27 times. by publishers. He couldn't get into the market at all. I mean, he's a great example of perseverance, really. But what Zeus came up with, at the time in America, the primers, the reading, the books that children had to learn to read, they were Dick and Jane books, and they were fundamentally, as far as Zeus is concerned, they were boring. It didn't mean they didn't have the right words in there that children need to learn, but what it had in there was dull stories, uninteresting stories. And as a result of that, Zeus decided to do something else. He created this incredible character, the Cat in the Hat, and all the other weird and wacky creatures that appeared after that. But the result of this was that children liked the books. They were engaged by the books. And once you're engaged in something, once you begin to learn from something in a way that just you're not learning, you forget about it, because it's all about consuming the story and wanting to know what happens to the Cat in the Hat and all these crazy things that the Cat in the Hat had and the Cat in the Hat did. All of that put together, the children were suddenly consuming the books, and as a result of that, of course, they were learning. They were learning without realizing they were learning. And so Zeus brought about fun into this, and his argument was that if you do this, if you give people the opportunity to enjoy themselves, they will perform better in general. And I totally agree with that. In fact, another book I wrote, which is called The Lazy Project Manager and the Project from Hell, I mean, is a book, but really fundamentally it's a workshop or an exercise or a fun activity that you can do. It's all about gamification is at the very heart of this. And what this is actually a project that I was involved in trying to recover. I didn't create the Project from Hell, but I did try and rescue the Project from Hell. At the end of it, I mean, it was a horrendous experience of grappling with a terrible project for many, many reasons. But at the end of this process, I was able to identify and uncover at the heart of it an essence of a case study. And what it is, I took that case study, I expanded it, and I created this fun exercise. And the fun exercise is that you put people into teams, typically around about 6 per team. You get them to come up with a fun name, obviously, and then you give them this timeline of this project from the start of the project through to the failure of the project. And by doing that, they go on the journey to the point of absolute failure. And then you give them something that every project manager would love to have, and that is a time machine. The time machine is allowed to be used once, and it's really about what would you go back and change. It's kind of, cause and effect. It's all about foundational skills or foundational standards within the process of a project setup. And people love doing this, and it's great for project kickoffs, it's great for project team bonding. In fact, just recently I did it for an organisation that was kind of re-teaming their project managers after the lockdown, after the self-isolation that had been going on. They were kind of rebuilding their project team as a community, and by doing this kind of exercise was kind of a fun activity. And then there's other elements to it, but in essence that's really what it's all about. It is about the fact that you can actually, again, enjoy what you're doing, and make sure that by doing that you connect people through having fun. The shortest distance between two people is laughter. This is Victor Borge, the comedian and musician, and what Victor's saying there is that it's real. If you can connect people in some way with this kind of experience of enjoyment, of fun, of laughter, or a joke, or whatever it may be, then you are so close to that person right now. I'm going to give you a few jokes later on. They may probably not make you laugh because they are some of the bad project management jokes. Some of the jokes that drove me to write the Project Manager Who Smiles in the first place, because they are terrible. But if I can make you smile at some point during this, then we are truly momentarily connected, and that's a very, very powerful thing. This is obviously a British Airways plane. I guess we all remember planes. I certainly remember planes. In fact, this was the last but one trip I did at the early part of this year before the world changed fundamentally, and I was coming back from a conference in Hungary, Budapest. I had, in fact, been delivering a keynote that was based around kind of what you're hearing right now. It was all about the value of fun, And it culminated in 400 project managers all wearing red noses at the end of it, which was going to, yeah, it certainly got a laugh, and you can see the video on my website if you want to. But flying back, something happened, and I'd never had it before. I was sitting in you know, my seat. I typically get, you can see the doors over the wing now. I typically get one of those emergency exit rows because it's quite near the front of the plane because I like to get off as quickly as possible. And secondly, you get a lot, you know, a lot more leg room as a result of that. And that's the only reason I sit there. The thing that happened was we were flying into Heathrow. We were about half an hour out of Heathrow when what happened was the announcement came to the flight deck, which I've never heard before. And the announcement was that would all of the cabin crew attend the flight deck immediately. Well, I've never heard it. It's very unusual. That made me sit up, wake up, pay attention. And it was followed shortly after that by another announcement, which was that the captain was saying to everybody that they had identified possibility of some sort of leakage on the plane. And as a result of that, they had initiated emergency landing protocol into Heathrow. You know how quickly humour came about at that point, because it wasn't long after that that the person who was sitting next to me in that emergency row exit, but actually by the window, said, you know what, I always sit here for the extra leg room, but this right now I'm thinking this is a really good place to sit, just in case. And we smiled darkly, of course. If you've ever flown into Heathrow, then you'll understand the wonders or delights of being in the thing called the Heathrow Stack. The Heathrow Stack is that process when planes come in, they're put to the top of the stack because Heathrow is an incredibly busy airport with minimal runways, and gradually you descend the stack until at which point you're allowed out of the stack and you approach Heathrow and you finally get clearance to land. Well, another voice quickly said as we went straight into Heathrow, this is a brilliant way to bypass the stack and actually get us on stand on time, because the other joke, of course, is that you may arrive somewhere near Heathrow on time, but typically you rarely land on time, actually get into your gate and actually getting off the plane. I mean, obviously, I'm fine. I'm here, no problem at all, and there is no issue there. We landed. The plane was checked over. We were put into a safe area. Plane was checked over, people came on board, they checked inside the plane, no problems at all. We were taken off eventually, taken to a holding area, there was a very brief medical check, everybody was okay, and we were all sent home. No problem at all. No idea what actually went wrong, I probably never will find out. But the point about it is that we bring about humour in even the most difficult situations. And a lot of that has happened right now. I mean, you know, remote learning right now. I saw this one a while back. There's been a lot of humour right now in the lockdown period, but I quite like this one. Luke, you must learn the ways of the Force. I'm ready. Obi-Wan. Okay, let's see here. You've got to be logged in. You're going to go and watch the student portal and click on Jedi and take the course accordingly. Again, dark humour. The other one I particularly like at the moment is the, you know, what is the biggest driver to digital transformation? The CEO, the CIO, the CTO, or COVID-19? And of course, COVID-19 is the correct answer. It's made things change way much faster than anything else. Dark humour, you see. Richard Branson, have fun, successful follow. If you are having fun, you're doing it wrong. I think Richard's okay now. I just saw the announcement actually that he's finally got the 1.2 billion he needed to save Virgin Atlantic Airlines. Looks like they've got a deal in place. But up to that point, I imagine it being quite stressful for Richard. But his philosophy is like, you know, it's about having fun. It's about success will follow if you're having fun. And actually, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, perhaps you're doing it wrong. Again, this doesn't mean that you're falling about laughing constantly. It just means that you are having the right sort of spirit in your work, in the right sort of spirit in your project team. There's some wisdom of fun out there as well. This wonderful character here is Walter. Walter is a puppet for a ventriloquist Jeff Dunham. I don't know if you've ever seen Jeff Dunham. I find Jeff very funny. He's quite rude. I will warn you of that. But Jeff, I find amusing, and I particularly like Walter because the humour about Walter is permanently miserable. Whatever you do doesn't make Walter smile. In fact, as you can obviously see, he's actually incapable of smiling. But we're not incapable of smiling. In fact, it actually takes slightly less muscles to smile than it does to look miserable. So, you know, why not take the easy route? I'm the lazy project manager. I like to do things in a simple, easy way. So, you know, why not? Why not actually, you know, be at least neutral, if not happy, etc. Because this kind of smile factor, this spirit of enjoying yourself, kind of gives you the bounce back factor. If you know, we know in the world of projects there are difficulties, there are challenges, there are problems, etc. You know, there are good days, there are bad days. Hopefully there are more good days than there are bad days. But all of this happens, and actually, if you're kind of positive, if you have that kind of attitude, then you do bounce back. You do recover faster than if you're generally not so happy. And it helps you work better with other people. It helps you work better with your teammates. It's interesting that actually happy people help other people more. So happy people help other people more. And there's only one group that happy people help more than that, and that's happy people help other happy people even more than anybody else. So again, creating that right spirit in your team is really good. And it makes you popular. It makes you infectious to others in a good way, I would hasten to add, in this current situation. This is good infection. It brings about the fact that you all as a team, you're working together, you're having, you know, there are serious times. There are times you'll kind of be working flat out, and there might not be too many smiles, but when that's over, you have an opportunity to kind of relax and laugh with each other and talk about some fun things or plan some fun things, etc. It's all about this kind of wisdom of fun and the value of fun. There was a piece of research that was done, and it looked at nuns. Well, it actually looked at novices. So, you know, the step before taking the final vows, the step before you actually become fully fledged nuns. And the piece of research, it ran for a long period of time. But what they did was they got these novices, prior to them taking their final vows, they got the novices to sit down and write a statement of life, a kind of personal bio. How did they feel about life? And then they went back many years later, and at the age of 85, what they found was quite fascinating, that at the age of 85, those nuns who wrote a positive statement, that had like an outlook that was very positive or upbeat or all that, and what they found was that the majority of these nuns were still alive. Quite a phenomenal, you know, amount of them, you know, past 90% of them were still alive at the age of 85. However, of the novices, and now nuns of course, who wrote negative statements of life, bio statements, whatever you call them, 58% of those were still alive at the age of 85. And there are other pieces of research to kind of support that says that actually having this positive spirit, this outlook, this you know, happy attitude, or whatever you want to call it, is very good for you personally your health. And actually the argument is you will live longer as a result of that. Happy people live longer. And there's this thing, a Swedish study back in 2002. It's the facial reciprocation. It's the fact that if you smile at someone, they will typically mirror back that smile. And you can have some fun with this. It's something you can do, obviously, you know, when you're physically with people. But if you put people into, I do this at events, you know, if you put people into pairs, you know, an A person and a B person, and you get the A person to smile at the B person, the B person will typically smile back. They would typically reciprocate with a similar facial expression. If the person to look sad, look miserable, really sad face, then typically the B person will, at the very least, neutralize their look. They'll stop smiling or laughing or whatever, and they might well actually reciprocate with a sad face as well. So this kind of facial response goes on. And the fun you can have, of course, is you get the A person to smile and you try and get the B person to look miserable, or vice versa. And then what you get is a lot of fun, a lot of laughter as a result of that. And, you know, it's kind of good in that sense that you get what you give, really, is the essence here. So if you are a smiley, positive person, then most of the time you're going to get that back from other people. There was a project manager I worked with, and their approach very much, and they worked on some tough projects actually, but their approach was very much, and admittedly it was a period of time when they had most of their project team in one building, but they used to go around on a regular basis every day. They used to spend at least an hour in the morning every day going around talking to people, asking them how they were getting on, thanking them for their work, etc. It was all about the people connection. And this guy was a really happy person, but it didn't mean that he wasn't about to go into a really difficult steering meeting or challenging review meeting or something like that. That there wasn't serious stuff to be done. There definitely was, but he had this view that it was about people, projects about people, and he wanted to engage with people, and he wanted to share some smiles, and he wanted to be supportive of them. And then we get on to the kind of the really, this is the Gronometer, because this is really the reason I wrote the book, because I looked up Project Fun. I kind of have this attitude, and I'll talk a couple of stories about this in a minute, but I have this attitude about Project Fun. And then I kind of thought, well, there must be some great jokes out there. And it was really, when I wrote The Lazy Project Manager, I looked up for some good project management jokes. And to be honest, there were terrible ones. There were really miserable ones that I thought were terrible. I'm going to share a couple with you now. So the nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise and is not preceded by a period of worry and depression. Oh, groan. This one usually gets the biggest groan because everybody's heard this one. It's not good. Let's move on. A risk is something nasty you smell, and an issue is something nasty you stand in. I actually quite like this one. I use it in training courses when I try to explain to people the difference between a risk and an issue. Everybody gets the kind of analogy. I don't have to go into detail or explain, but you understand what I'm talking about. So I quite like this one, actually. It takes one woman 9 months to have a baby. It cannot be done in 1 month by impregnating 9 women. This is not a schedule that you can crash at all. It happens to take 9 months. End of. Terrible joke. Any project can be estimated accurately once it's completed. I'm not even sure this one is true. I've been involved in some post-project reviews, and actually based on the complexity of the reporting and the mismanagement of reporting in some cases and the lack of data, I'm not sure that project could have been estimated accurately because we didn't have all the information, even though the project was finished. Nothing is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it. I think that was true. Change is inevitable, except from a vending machine. I used to like this one, but let's be honest, vending machines are changing, aren't they? I mean, the most recent one I used, it was some time ago now, but the most recent one I used, I just paid by credit card. Change was irrelevant. In fact, you can also get them where you just pay by your phone. So perhaps this is a joke that's going to die. If you don't know where you're going and your road will take you there, it'll take you somewhere. It may not take you exactly where you want to go, but it will take you somewhere. I guess the way I look at this is this is kind of like, well, what is your attitude? Is it the glass half full or the glass half empty? And I was sent this one recently, and I'm actually going to read this one because I don't know it off by heart, but I quite liked it. I quite like it, particularly I come from the world of client-facing projects, of software deliveries, projects to clients, and this kind of really fits my world. So bear with me on this one. So it's a half glass of beer. So the optimist, we know the optimist says it's half full and the pessimist says it's half empty. But sales can say something like, can I introduce you to the benefits of ice? Pre-sales, give me a few moments to demonstrate to you how I can easily drink this beer for you. And the project manager might say, the glass is twice as big as it needs to be, and who came up with the estimate for the glass size in the first place? The technical consultant might say that actually the glass is completely full with the bottom half full of beer and the top half full of air, but at a very reasonable cost, a routine can be delivered to replace the air with beer if this is what is required. The solution architect might say the focus on the single entity of the glass of beer is only part of the potential solution. You might consider designing a complete supply chain solution commencing with a microbrewery incorporating a bar, thereby ensuring a regular supply of beer to the glass. Support might say something like half empty glass of beer. Why don't you check my frequently asked questions? Here you are, 98% fit to your question. Suggestion is, go to the bar and buy another beer. How would you rate my response? 1 smiley face, 2 smiley face, 3 smiley faces. And the finance manager says, why are we not using paper cups? And they are cheaper. And who on earth approved the budget for beer in the first place? I quite like that. I will learn it off by heart for future ones. Let me just show you a couple of stories from my world, and then we'll kind of open it up to talking to you guys. So the fun, I have used fun a lot in the past. There is a day for project managers to celebrate. It is the International Project Management Day. It's in November, first Thursday in November. But the most exciting day of the year is Speak Like a Pirate Day, or Talk Like a Pirate Day. I came across this some years ago now, and the first year I came across it, I thought this is fun because I like pirates. You know, I'm like anybody, I guess, likes pirates and dinosaurs, especially if you're a boy. But I kind of like this, and you know, we've all seen the Pirates of the Caribbean films and Johnny Depp, etc. So the first year this came about, I got my core project team together, my PMO, and we all talked like a pirate for one day of the year, and we had fun, we smiled, we laughed. And you can go online, you can go and find pirate translators. You can get pirate translators to turn your normal text into pirate speak with yars and things like that, and shiver me timbers sort of thing. You can also get it in multiple languages, and certainly at the time there were several languages. There was, you know, for example, there was French, there was Spanish, there was German, and so forth. Well, the second year, I thought this was such a brilliant idea. I had this team of project managers all over Europe. We couldn't ever get together in one place. So what I did is I got them all an eye patch and a parrot, an inflatable parrot, and we celebrated Speak Like a Pirate Day. And we had a lot of fun. We had so much fun doing this. But the tip I learned is that you got to make sure everybody's included in the fun, because there was a German project manager who was having a lot of fun but we were talking about real work, real project challenges, and he got so carried away he forwarded an email chain to his manager to ask him his advice. And of course, in the email chain was pirate speak, German pirate speak, which is I imagine a thing to behold. German's quite an impressive language anyway, but German pirate speak is even more impressive. Anyway, his boss obviously wanted to know what the hell was going on. So, you know, if you have fun like this, if you connect with people, then you have to make sure that everybody's included. And of course, the overriding guidance here is that you have to make sure that the fun that you're having is suitable, appropriate, culturally sensitive, gender sensitive, all of those things. You know, the best advice I can give is, if you have any concerns about the humour that you're going to use, the jokes you're going to use, whatever it may be, don't use it. You know, if you're concerned in any way, don't use it, because I've been caught out a couple of times with my English humour. You know, I really don't think some of the things I say are particularly offensive, but sometimes it's been pointed out to me that it could have been misunderstood. So you just have to be very, very careful, particularly in the very public domain that I do when I'm doing keynote presentations, etc. So Speak Like a Pirate Day was a great day. But the other thing was a story I share, which is when I was working on a project that was going badly wrong, and we're getting nowhere. Progress was almost come to a standstill. We were burning money and time, etc. And I got, you know, I struggled to know what to do, but I eventually got my core team and took them off to a local hotel. We had a meeting room booked. We had a facilitator in the morning. The facilitator worked with us to blue sky think and brainstorm and rebond as a team. And at lunchtime, when the facilitator left, and she was very good, but when she left, I sat there at lunch thinking, we haven't progressed to where I want to. We need to. I don't know what I'm going to say. And so when we went back into the room in the afternoon, I in a moment of desperation or inspiration, you can take it either way, perhaps, my team sat down and I stood in front of them and said, I'm going to solve every single problem on the project right now. And 10 people looked at me. I walked out the door, I closed the door, and from the other side door, I pretended, I kind of role play my manager, my boss, firing me, giving me the sack. I gave it a minute or two and I walked back in the room, and most people got the joke. A couple of people looked disappointed I was still employed, but most people got the joke. And honestly, at that point, it was a turning point. It kind of broke the tension, broke the ice in the room. I'm not kidding you. We delivered massively late, massively under scope, massively over budget. You know, it was in no way you could decide this project was a success. You know, it's true measurements of success, but we delivered something, and that manic moment of desperate, inspired fun, I see as a turning point. So the power of fun, it cannot be underestimated. This is, I love this one. This is the Lego team obviously having, I presume it's not a steering meeting. I'd be quite impressed if it was a steering meeting. But this is just fun they're having on one of their, and I think it's one of the things at the moment is that, you know, if you haven't gone back to work in the old normal, but you're back to work in the new normal, which is still lots of remote activities, etc., is, you know, bringing appropriate fun into kind of these sessions, and you know, we're all suffering probably from Zoom fatigue or you know, Teams fatigue or any other ones, etc. Bring an element of fun into it, which the Lego team have clearly done here, and I love this one, is a good thing. I'm not saying it's appropriate for every meeting, of course not, but it doesn't mean you don't think about it. And the other thing that's noticeable in this period of time is that kind of lack of the casual engagement that's going on inside work. This technology is brilliant, that we're using, that you've used, all the ranges of the technology that's available for these remote and virtual meetings and team gatherings. It's brilliant. But what it doesn't replace is the conversations you have by the water cooler, over the coffee machine, over lunch, whatever it may be. And so you kind of have to supplement that in these current times in some way to ensure that the fun is not forgotten and it's not just serious stuff going on. So as I come to the end of this one, I mean, you know, I said there is a free ebook to people who turn up for this session. I know who you are. I can track you down. So I will get you a copy of the book. It's a PDF, so it's entirely readable by everybody. I hope you enjoyed the book. What I did was I went out to the world of project managers, and I was sent some, you know, I got a couple of great case studies from PMO leaders. I got some great stories from some pretty well-known project management experts, if you like, or names in the world of project management, who shared with me some stories about things that happened on their projects, which they found entertaining or humorous or funny. And I got project managers to share with me some good project management jokes, not like the ones I've shared, but some good project management jokes. So I hope you enjoyed the book. And my offer really is that if you do like the book, then share it. I don't care. You can share it with one person, or you can share it with 1,000 people. I don't mind. I mean, for this period of time, you know, I think it's important to spread the smile, keep people laughing. I think there's value in everything I've talked about. But apart from that, please feel free to share the book, the PDF, with as many people as you like. That would be great. And if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, then I'd love you to connect to me on LinkedIn as well. So that would be absolutely brilliant. I just want to say before I switch across that I kind of, you know, if you liked what we just had, because I'm trying to up what we're doing in these sessions, so it'd be interesting to know if you like what we had. I'm kind of thinking about doing, you know, maybe one slightly more presentation every month session and one back down to kind of detailed discussion. So if you like what you had, please, I'd appreciate it if you make some sort of comment on the tribe website. Comment against the event, comment against the group, whatever it may be. I will certainly be posting some details about this anyway. That would be great. I'd love to know what you feel about this. But the next topic, just so you know what it is how I'm going to draw something from How to Get Fired at the C-Level. Yeah, I know. I've got a book for every occasion, and so it's a lot of material to draw on. So actually, I'm currently just finishing off my 20th book. So there's a lot of material out there. But How to Get Fired at the C-Level, Why Mismanaging Change is the Biggest Risk of All, I think is an interesting one. It's potentially got 2 or 3 sessional topics in there. So that's what I'm aiming to do, and my next session is on the 28th of July. So on that, I will stop. I will stop sharing. I will switch to... Oh, that's muting me. That's no good. Right, okay, so we're in a situation now where you're all muted, but you can unmute yourself if you so wish. And if you've got something to say, I'm just going to look at the chat to see what's been happening. Gerald did smile reading it. Shared it, even a joke or two with my wife. Well, there you go. That's high praise indeed. Then good we go. All right. So, thoughts on it? I mean, has anybody experienced something similar? Do you use fun? Do you have fun exercises you do with people? Have you enjoyed an experience in a project that's allowed a bit of fun? This is your opportunity to talk to me. And for me to stop talking.
For sure, the ability to share a joke or anything humorous with the team, it's about creating a relationship. And
yeah,
that's what's most important to get things done, because you can't always use positional authority to enforce the demands on people, and it's the way humans work, right? Like you said, I like the quote from Victor Borge, shortest distance between two people is laughter. I'm going to write that down on my list of quotes.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Darren. Anybody else? As I said, there is, definitely there is time to be serious. There's times to focus. There's time when it's not about having fun. But still, I feel that if you've got that connection with your team, if you've got that team spirit going on, then as soon as the serious moment is over, then you can progress back to a kind of relaxed, positive situation very quickly. So
when did you release this? When did you release the book?
I don't know. I haven't got a copy right next to me. I don't know. I was probably around, I would guess, so 2010, probably around 2015, something like that. Maybe. Any other comments from anyone? Hi. Who's this?
It's Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Shannon. Just a question about humor. Many of us are working with virtual teams around the world. Have you, in your experience, encountered certain humorous topics we should avoid?
I've got things wrong. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it surprises me sometimes. So the first thing is, I don't think I've ever outright offended anybody, but I've had feedback that says you might not want to use that particular humour in the future. It was phrased in you could offend someone. So I'm not quite sure if I did offend or not, but it wasn't outrageous. But the kind of, I think the best tip I was given, and it's something I have used, is that if you're working with teams regularly and you have some humour that you want to share, if you are concerned about a cultural response to it in some way, if you can, kind of have a one-to-one with a representative for that culture beforehand, go, look, I'm thinking of using this humour, this cartoon, this video, what it may be. I'm thinking of using this, and I'm asking you to give me feedback. Would you feel comfortable with this or not? I think is a good way to minimise the risk. The other times, sometimes it floors you completely. The other story I always tell is it was in the UK. I was doing 3 presentations of a big project, and I had to do like a tour of updating at the various locations of the business, and I presented in Edinburgh, in Manchester, and in London, and I told an opening joke to kind of set the scene for the project update that I was doing. And everybody laughed in Edinburgh, everybody laughed in Manchester, but London, because it's where all the board members were, etc. I told this joke, and it wasn't offensive. It's just nobody felt they had the right to laugh, and I died in that moment, and I struggled to continue to live it. So you can be thrown at every opportunity. But no, I think validate. If you're concerned personally, don't do it, or if you can validate it with someone, I think is a good way of going about with it. Validating it.
Yeah, and that sort of led into my the second question. Presenting to more senior audiences who may not see the humor. Certainly as a team building skill, humor with the team is very effective. But I'm not sure senior management always appreciates it the same way.
No, and I think that's a fascinating one. It's interesting. I think they do, but I think sometimes they don't allow themselves to do it. It's kind of the story I told. Yeah. So the Project from Hell, and the example I used there, the Project from Hell, I delivered to senior vice presidents of an Australian bank, and they had so much fun. In fact, they were one of the best. Because when I get people to feedback the solutions, it's up to them. They can do PowerPoint, or they can do flip chart and Post-it notes or whatever. Mm-hmm. This lot actually role-played it, including walking backwards across the room, pretending to be the time machine. Now, these are very senior people in a bank, actually. So they loved the fun. And sometimes, perhaps, as a keynote speaker, I get away with a little bit more because they pay me to come in, and I have almost the remit to be. But actually, no. Again, I think in your own organisation, just be careful. And I think the question I often get is, well, how do you bring fun at the higher level? I think if you can showcase the value of fun in the team, like this happened, The team approached it this way. It was a lot of fun, but look at the benefit. Rather than going to your boss, your sponsor, or whatever, and trying to crack a joke, it's probably going to backfire. So yes, you do have to be very considerate and careful.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thanks. Anybody else? No?
Peter, are you aware of the joke of the cartoon? You know how to build a swing.
Yes, I do know that one. Yeah. Oh yes, the classic.
Right. Exactly, and because what the joke you were reading kind of reminded me of that also, because it shows many different points of view and what should have been built and how the consultant built it and or invoiced it, and and actually for me that's a perfect illustration how to do or what's the benefit of Agile also, because actually you get to show things, and well, people understand many different things, you know, if you pitch the project, and the outcome varies wildly.
No, I mean, it's, you know, it is an old one. You know, the older it is, the more likely someone's seen it. But again, you know, I do project management training, and I try and teach people about, you know, scope control or an expectation set and all of that. You can have a lot of fun with, you know, there's an exercise which is draw a circle on a page, and you get everybody to do that because you don't tell them how big the circle is, etc. And then you start giving them extra instructions, which means if you draw the circle too big, you can't do it. And so forth. And you can have a lot of, you know, again, this is a great, you know, bit of fun that kind of reinforces an important learning point as well. And I do enjoy that. And you know, my sort of lazy to agile workshop, I think, has got something like, it's got one presentation in it, and it's got five games and 3 exercises and 2 discussions, but only one presentation. Because again, building that kind of gamification into the experience, people don't realize how much they're learning, and they enjoy the day. Okay. Final thoughts? Okay. If not,
Louise,
hi, yeah. Louise,
hey,
hi.
yeah, no, just thanks very much, Peter. I thought it was really interesting. We've got kind of new people at the moment, you know, that we're talking to remotely. So it's nice to kind of do some icebreakers and try and get to know people a little bit better rather than just all sat in the office. So yeah, any tips that we can get, I think, in this climate can help with getting the work done as well. You know,
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And I mean, the offer is there. I mean, you know, as I said, I'm trying to draw the line at the end of July. But if you want to, you know, if you want me to deliver a, you know, it's a 30-minute plus questions type, you know, fun, literally what you just had, then I'm more than happy to do it. If we can schedule it in the next 2-3 weeks, then I'm happy to do it for free, you know, no charge, etc., into your organisations. But we need to move fast. I've kind of been doing it since April, so I'm kind of wearing out on this one now.
That's really good. Thank you.
All right.
That's a comment about having too much fun.
Yeah, too much fun. Too much fun. Yeah. It can be, perhaps. Maybe. All right.
All things in moderation.
Yes, true. On those wise words, then I'm going to close the session off. Thank you for your attendance. I will get you a copy of the book, and I hope to see you all on the 28th. And yeah, obviously it's going to be recorded as well, so we can also come back and watch it again and all the rest of it. So it's all good stuff. So thank you for joining the tribe, and I'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye.
Thanks, Peter. Bye.